we are going to go ahead and start problem 6.32. We're going to do the same problem as 631, except for we're going to use FIFO. Alright, so FIFO seems to make more sense to me, right? We're talking about a factory where we're making bicycles, and it's easy to imagine that you start with something on one end and you go through to the other end, and as it goes it's more and more finished and it comes out, so that FIFO is actually the way these things are manufactured. So and it's probably a little more accurate than just dumping everything in and doing an average cost, just because it's easy to imagine that the price of metal could increase, or that the direct labor would get a pay raise or something. So it's easy to imagine that work in process is not all equal, right? So let's do FIFO and see how that works. Exact same situation as before. Alright, so the first thing that is called for is a physical flow. Well, the physical flow is the physical flow, right? We have our beginning inventory, we have our units started, transferred in, we have our total to account for. So this is identical whether our costing is weighted average, like before, or FIFO, like we're going to do now. So the physical flow of units is the same. So you wouldn't really redo that. But figuring out the equivalent units, right? So we're going to start working on our unit costs. And in order to figure out the work in process cost, we have to figure out what are the equivalent units, right, for direct material and conversion cost. So we know that for direct materials, that it all goes in up front. In other words, they go draw all the metal from either the previous department or raw material inventory, wherever they get it from. They get all the metal all at once. So they've got all their materials 100% up front. Okay, so that means that as far as equivalent units for direct material go, with beginning work in process, there's not any, right? Because that all, we're considering that the materials have flown, there's nothing left to complete. So when it was accounted for, it was accounted for as far as direct materials, because it all went in up front. So even though it's sitting on the factory floor, it was accounted for last month. So started and completed, right? So we know that what got completed was 121,500 units, right? 121,500 units. So of those 121,500 units, we also know that of those units that got completed, we know 40,500 of them were beginning work in process, and we are going to assume that those were part of those. In other words, it came out in order. First in, which these were first out. So this 121,500 includes all 40,500 of these. So we need to take 121,500 minus 40,500 to figure out how many were started and completed during the month. So it turns out that 121,500 minus 40,500 is equal to 81,000. Alright, so in terms of direct materials, we started and completed 81,000. In other words, these were not in work on the first day of the month, but over the first day of the month we brought them in and completed them. We don't count any direct materials for work in process at the beginning because it got counted for last month, because these were the first out. And ending work in process, we know what ending work in process was. That was 13,500, right? So 13,500 has all its direct materials, so we can say we used that during the month. So during the month we started and finished 81,000, and we started 13,500, but they have all their direct materials. So the equivalent units for direct materials is 81 plus 13.5, so that's going to be that 94,500 units. All right, so that is our equivalent units for direct materials. So when we go to do our pricing, we need to divide out by that much. Conversion costs. All right, so if we started and completed it, that means it was fully converted, so 81,000 goes there. Now, we know that we did have some beginning work in process to complete, right? We know we had 40,500 units in the beginning work in process. And we know also that they were 20% complete. We know that because they told us that. All right, 40,500 beginning work in process, 40,500, 20% complete. Which means that on day one they were 20% complete. So over the course of the month, we had to complete 80% of them. And we did because they were part of what we sent out, right? Because we're assuming all of this got sent out. So to get that conversion cost, I'm going to multiply that times 0.8, right? 80%. In other words, they were 20% complete, so it's going to take 80% to complete them. So 40,500 times 0.8 is equal to 32.4. So the equivalent units that we needed to convert the beginning work in process was that. And we already figured out the ending work in process, right? Remember, it was 25% complete, so 13.5 times 25% equaled 33.75. So that number is the same as when we calculated it last time, 33.75. So 81,000 plus 32,400 plus 33.75 is equal to 116,775 equivalent units. So now we're ready to go cost out our units, and when we use our per unit measures, we know that for direct materials our equivalent units were 94.5, and for conversion costs our equivalent units were 116,775. Now the total costs, we're going to add those all up there in the next video.